welcome to Special Stage and welcome to Rally North Wales, the opening round of the 2026 Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. You're about to see the first of the Mini Cup cars through this first stage of the day. Aberhynant. That's a sight to behold, isn't it? Clive King, Anton Bird, 2025 HRCR Mini Cup champions out here on the gravel, and it is very nice gravel as well. We've driven through the majority of this Aberhynant stage on the way in. It's 8.99 mile opener, and it is in impeccable condition. But I tell you what, talking of conditions, we've had snow, yes really, we've had hail, we've had rain, and there is bitingly cold winds here in this first stage of the day. I don't think I've known it this cold for a long time. And it has been a long time since we've been out here in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series, hasn't it? The opening round, as it was meant to be, the Malcolm Wilson Rally, having sadly been cancelled, means we've had a longer than usual winter break. And it has felt like a long time. Let's see if we can remember what to do. I'm Paul Woodford. I'm delighted to be joining you today for this opening round. We've got a bumper entry as well for you, including a host of former BTRDA rally champions and our reigning champions, Matthew Hurt, Declan Deer, looking to make it two to add to their 5 Pirelli Welsh Rally Championships. Phil Bramwell will be bringing you coverage of the Welsh Championship, which means we have 4 live stages for you today. We're going to be live with you for this Aberhynant stage, the first stage of the day, and we're going to be live again for this stage when it's stage 4, 1:30 this afternoon. Those minis have been thrown around out there, aren't they? Great little championship this, and how good is it to see classic minis back in the forests. Eric Davis, Russell Joseph there. I was thinking as I was driving through the stage in my modern mini how good the stage was and how much fun it would be in one of these historic minis. Rally North Wales taking over the market town of Welshpool then this weekend. Once again, Get Jerky is in partnership with the rally, and it is a rally that over the years has attracted some big names. The trophy here includes names like Colin, Jimmy and Alistair McRae, Elvin Evans, Tom Cave, Andreas Mikkelsen, Malcolm Wilson, Di Llewellyn, Russell Brooks, Stig Blomqvist, Tony Pond, Michel Mouton, Marco Allen, Henry Toivonen, Ari Vatanen, Pentia Rickler. Those names make the hair stand up on the back of your neck, don't they? As you see Craig King and Kevin Hogan through this first stage. We're just at the end of the stage here, just a fast left down the hill into probably a 2 left, and then into the flying finish, and we will be a little bit further towards that flying finish for the location in this afternoon's stage. Interestingly, quite a few spectators out this morning. It's an early start. Well, by today's standards. Tend to start later, don't we, these days? So to have the first car in at 8:45. Plenty of people out on the roads and plenty of spectators making their way into this first stage of the day. So Phil Bramwell will be live in stage 3 and stage 6 with the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship. But as always, we will be bringing you coverage from all of the crews. But we'll be focusing on the championship battle in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. And we are expecting at this opening round to be some battle as well. There's some good names registered for championship points. We'll come to those shortly. As you see, Harvey Stevens, Craig Hardiman, the fourth of the HRCR Mini Cup drivers. John Brooks and Phil Harvey will complete the collection shortly, and then there'll be a short gap before we have the main field through. Change to seeding in 2026, which has been much talked about. Back to the seeding of old, and not the most popular move for many. Of course, we used to have the reverse seeded historics and 1400s, and we've now got the main field through in anticipated performance order, is the official wording. But we are going to have these 5 HRCR Mini Cup crews through ahead of the field for all of the stages today. 45.6 miles in total today, then over 6 stages. You're joining us here in the Braces Bred Aberhirnan stage. There's the Woolacombe Bay Holiday Park's Big Ray Duvenant stage up next. This is just shade under 9 miles long, and that is a Mini in the ditch and just about getting away with it. I'll tell you what, it might be an early start, but John Brooks is well and truly awake now. That was a bit hairy, wasn't it? The spectators and the photographers on the bank over there getting a good look at that Mini Clubman. I was about to say what a lovely sight a Mini Clubman was bursting into view, but then it burst into the ditch and stopped me in my tracks. So just short of 9 miles long, the cars are into this first stage now, and then the next stage, Duvenant, 7.73 miles. Duvenant South is up next. That's where Phil Brammill is. 6.1 miles, a little shorter there. And then we repeat the loop this afternoon, starting here at the Ashmore's Press Brake Tooling Aberhirnan stage. Lewis Hunter, Contractors, Big Ray Duvenant North, and then the Super Mirafiori. What a word that is. I love saying that word. Duvenant South this afternoon. If you do fancy getting back to the finish and enjoying the celebrations down there, the first of the cars will be there at around 3:30, 3:45, something like that, I think. That'll be at the Rally Marketing Welshpool Town finish. Well worth getting down there if you can. The town of Welshpool hosting quite a number of events that we do, not least the Roger Albert Clark late last year. This is a stage then that is featured in not only the British rallying scene over the years, but also in the World Rally Championship, of course. Wales Rally GB coming to these forests, but it won't be coming to these forests as of 2027, but it will be coming back to Great Britain, which is great news. And we're all heading up to Aberdeen. Rally Scotland announced as the latest new round in the World Rally Championship. Congratulations to everybody who made that happen. Quite a lot of excitement around that. And Scotland has played its part in the story of the World Rally Championship on these shores, hasn't it, over the years? So only fair that they get a crack at the whip. Results.djames.org.uk is where you need to be for the live results. Frustratingly, and it is a bit of a bugbear of mine, we have 3 different sets of results. I'll try not to moan about that too much today. I just don't understand why we can't combine them all into one set of results, which is easier for people at home watching, and well, just makes a lot more sense to me. Reigning champions then in the HRCR Mini Cup, Clive King, Anton Bird Our fastest through this stage, a 10:47. It's 11:54 from Eric Davies and Russell Joseph. And only 2 seconds behind them, Craig King and Kevin Hogan. 11:56 for them. A 12:31 from Harvey Stevens and Craig Hardiman. And then John Brooks, Phil Harvey getting away with that little moment in the ditch to bring their Mini out of stage one with a 13 minutes 15 seconds stage time on the mark in 5th place. Right, all eyes on the main field now. A lot of chatter coming into this round about who will be fighting for what championship. You have got a number of crews who we expect to be entering the BRC, and some we know already have. Johnny Grisdale wants to give Pete Gorst a big shout out. Car 41, look out for the Evo. Complete rebuild after going off at the Woodpecker last year. Lots of hours being put into that car. Thank you for that, Johnny. If you comment under the live stream, we will get some of your comments in a short while. And you can also win Rallying is Life vouchers to spend on the Rallying is Life rally merchandise shop. I've got a Rallying is Life hoodie on today, and I'm quite glad of the extra layer, I've got to say. Posted a picture on my Instagram story a little while ago. So Matthew Hurst and this time Jack Bowen out in car 1 at the head of the field. I'm trying to look at what Wayne Goldring is showing me. And it is a very, it won't feel very lucky, but I think that was a very lucky moment there for Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen, just getting out of shape in the ditch that we saw the Mini go off in, and that Skoda was pointing both front wheels right at the sky there, wasn't it? That was quite a spectacular moment for Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen, who will be counting their lucky stars there in car 1 to have got to the end of that stage after what was quite a moment. We all just stopped and watched there. Weren't quite sure which way that was going to go, but just managing to get the car stopped, and will live to fight another day. Max McRae up next, not registered for Protyre BTRDA points, but as I was beginning to say earlier, one of the crews we expect to be testing here. As the Bulldog, this was often used as a test, wasn't it, for the BRC? It was attracted a big entry. An all-star entry, those names I mentioned earlier, proving that as a result. Marion Evans in the Castrol Yaris as well, at car 3, and then we're back to our BTRDA registered crews. Former double Gold Star champion and the youngest ever Gold Star champion, Elliot Payne, with Patrick Walsh alongside. That trusty combination that's worked so well for them here on these stages, on these events over the years, is at car 4. Interesting to see what we get from Liam Clark this year. He's been steadily getting up to speed and he's had a few big results now in that Rally 2 Fiesta. Was testing at Full Price Rally School. I think, did I see some pictures of him testing? Certainly Alex Vassallo was. Meanwhile there is Max McRae. Cameron Fair alongside. They're all pushing really hard into that ditch on the left-hand side there, aren't they? But Matthew Hurst gets the biggest style points of the day. That, I'm sure that clip will be the first one in the edit that we put out later with the moments. Wayne Goldring smiling and nodding. I will do my best to get Wayne Goldring on the Rally Club podcast, by the way. We've been in negotiations today, but it won't be in tomorrow's because that one's already locked and loaded, ready to go out to help you with the Rally Blues. Tomorrow, it's Mondays, I mean, it's going to go on Monday. Here we are, the Castrol Yaris. We're going to see 2 Welshmen driving in the VRC this year. It's Myron Evans. But great news that Osian Price will be out in one of those as well. He'll be a force to be reckoned with in that car on those events this year, won't he? It's mad, isn't it, that we are at the end of March and this is the first round of the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series, UK's premier gravel rally championship. The sun is shining, those blue skies might look lovely on your screens. It is not lovely here. It is bitterly cold, and as I mentioned earlier, if you're just tuning in, we have had snow and hail, real snow as well, and there's a dusting of snow on the top of the stage, on the top bit at the top of the valley, just before the cars come into view here. There's a lovely scenic part of the stage that is covered over with snow or frost or a combination of both, perhaps. There he is, Elliot Payne. That Hooch Rally 2 Fiesta, not quite as wild and out of shape as the first 2 cars. But I tell you what, it is. There's some angle to be getting a Rally 2 car out. Coming into the end of the stage. If you're following the live results, you can go to results.djames.org.uk. And as we're near the flying finish, we should. I haven't got any results up yet, but very shortly, I'm expecting we should have some there we go. Myron Evans, Dale Furness, our fastest through this opening stage so far, an 8:27 from them. 5 seconds ahead of Max McRae. But in terms of our Protyre BTRDA Rally Crews, did you see one of those? Liam Clark there. Michael Gilby alongside. Again, cocking a wheel into the air. It's going to be a spectacular corner. I'm pleased that we picked this location for you, actually, as we go through the day. Michael Gilby, legendary co-driver, following another legendary co-driver up ahead as well in Patrick Walsh. Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh leads the way in the BTRDA crews at the moment, an 8:36. Matthew Hurst, Jack Bowen, perhaps not losing as much time as you might have expected they would. They lost 9 seconds to Payne and Walsh, but I'm sure we'll see that as a result. They got away with that one. And I'm sure they'll be wondering how, as will the spectators. And I bet there'll be some pretty dramatic photos from that bank over there. Let's see where Liam Clark and Michael Gilby drop in. 5 seconds slower than Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen through this opening stage. Wow. Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees alongside. After their fire on the Border Counties Rally, the car is rebuilt and they'll be looking for a strong result here to open their championship campaign. Another car to take to the ditch, but actually driving through the ditch, just taking a very wide line. Actually looked quite sensible compared to the cars waving their front wheels in the air, didn't it, in a strange sort of a way. Ridiculously excited to see the Fiat 131 through here. Fiat 131s, plural. They're going to look great. We've got Chevettes, we've got Novas, we've got Sunbeams, Alpha Suds, MGZRs, classic BMWs. It is quite the entry here for Get Jerky Rally North Wales. Daniel Sigurðarson, Asta Sigurdardóttir, the Icelandic duo back in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series in their Skoda Fabia RS. Flicking between the results and the entry here. Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees then, dropping just ahead of Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen in the BTRDA crews. Second behind Elliot Payne and Patrick Walsh, who have shown so far pretty clean set of heels to the field that we've had through so far. In terms of the overall leaderboard, Myron Evans, Dale Furness lead the way in the Castrol Yaris Rally 2, the Melvin Evans motorsport car, and Max McRae, Cameron Fair in second overall, ahead of our Protyre BTRDA Rally crews. But the two-time and youngest ever Gold Star champion Elliot Payne and Patrick Walsh is setting the pace as far as the championship crews are concerned. To remind you, that is where our narrative is today. We will bring you the crews from the British Historic Rally Championship, the Welsh Rally Championship. James Wilson, Paul Mulholland getting their Rally 2 Skoda into that ditch as well. It's going to catch somebody out, isn't it, before long? Almost caught Matthew Hurst. And it's a Declan Deer, not here today. Jack Bowen out. Great to have the ever sideways and spectacular Russ Thompson with Stephen Link with us, and this time in a Fiesta. Finally getting themselves into R5 machinery. Let's see what they can do, having campaigned that Evo over the years. A familiar look, though, for Russ. It's quite good in the Russ Thompson colours, isn't it? And again, getting the driver's side rear into the ditch there. They'll have noted that one for later in the day, that is for sure. Daniel Sigardus and Asta Sigurdottir then, the Icelandic pair in the Skoda, dropping into second in the BTRDA crews. Less than half a second ahead of Alex Vasallo and Chris Lees. Alistair Ginley and Kim Gray, the North Yorkshire driver in the Skoda, taking a nice clean line through there, avoiding any issues with that ditch. Russ Thompson, Stephen Link then drop in behind Liam Clark and Michael Gilby, and ahead of James Wilson and Paul Mulholland. Sixth in the BTRDA crews, eighth on the overall leaderboard at this stage. The time to beat through this opening Aberhennant stage at Rally North Wales, an 8:27.6 from Myron Evans and Dale Furness. The pair not registered for BTRDA points. Interestingly, registered for Welsh Championship points. Let's see if they put in a full campaign in that one. At the moment, looking at the Welsh Championship crews, Matthew Hurst is a 5-time champion and trails through this first stage after that moment in front of our cameras. Dan O'Brien, Niall Burns alongside. Neat and tidy from them. Missing Ian Bainbridge and Andrew Ruffhead in the Yaris Rally 2, interestingly. And car I'm really looking forward to seeing through here. Car and driver combo, I should say. George Lepley in the Group A Galant VR4. Of course, Buzz Jordan took the British Historic Rally Championship in his. What can George Lepley do? And we're about to find out. Just nipping the car out of that ditch. Does not want to be putting that car in the ditch. Towards the end of this stage, everybody getting away with their, well, small to medium-sized moments in that ditch on the left-hand side. If you're just joining us, welcome to Special Stage and welcome to the opening round of the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. It is Rally North Wales, and it is the very first stage of the day. 45.6 miles over 6 stages today. 2 loops, 3 stages in each. Arran, where we are now for the first stage, and then Dyfnant North, Dyfnant South, in that order. This morning and this afternoon, we will be live all the way through this first stage, and then live again for stage 4 at 1:30 this afternoon. Phil Bramall will be live in the second of the special stage crews for the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship, and he'll be live at around 10 a.m. this morning. The 2 streams will overlap, so you get to see crews through both stages. That familiar Mercian Tools Mitsubishi Evo of Patrick Naylor and Tom Bishop through then in his first stage. The Protyre BTRDA Rally Championship order at this stage then, this early stage after stage 1 with the cars we've had through so far, all 9 of them. Oh, I've had 10 through now, haven't we? Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh lead the way, and they've got just under an 8-second lead from Daniel Sigurdsson and Asta Sigurdottir, who have come on strong through this first stage. Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees in third. Then it's Matt Hurst and Jack Bowen. Liam Clark, Michael Gilby behind them. Then it's Alistair Ginley, Kim Gray, Russ Thompson, Stephen Link, James Wilson, Paul Mulholland, and Dan O'Brien and Niall Burns. Interesting leaderboard with some new names fighting in there as well, which is great to see. Trevor Gamble, Chris Davies through in their Fiesta Rally 2. That's Stephen Petch's car. It does look like it, doesn't it? Yeah. So you're going to have to do what I'm doing and switch between 3 different leaderboards. Might moan about that a little bit today. I just don't see the point. We have to make this sport easy for people to follow, and that is not the way we do it. And there's another car I've been looking forward to seeing through here. Marty McCormack, Barney Mitchell in the E30 M3, a car which we know goes well on asphalt, and then we got a glimpse of how well it goes on the gravel on the Roger Albert Clark Rally late last year. That car sounds and looks the part, doesn't it? And Marty has been fine-tuning things since the RAC, which was a really good test for them, and was a good way of proving the car early on into its campaign as well. It'll be interesting to see where Marty ends up. The sponsor on the entry list is Marty's second-hand silverware, which I quite like. Paul Barrett going well through there. Gordon Noble alongside, of course. Another of the crews that we saw out on the Roger Albert Clark Rally, and one of the British Historic Rally Championship crews you're going to see in action today on Rally North Wales. A round of the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series, the Welsh Rally Championship, the British Historic Rally Championship, and the HRCR Mini Cup, among others as well. people that I have spoken to have actually come out to spectate this weekend simply to see a combination of, well, a number of historic cars, but certainly Shane McGear's Lada has been among them. He and Denver Rafferty came out on the, I want to say, the Kielder Forest stages a couple of years ago in that, and just blew everybody's minds. It's a fantastic looking bit of kit. And adds that variety that we talk so fondly of, that I know you guys all love as well. No times through, unless I'm doing something wrong here from the historics. I know we do. George Lepley, David Evans. I'll keep you updated on the other leaderboards, even though we are covering the BTRDA here on the first of the live streams. I know that you're interested in the whole rally, so are our sponsors, and they know you are as well. George Lepley, David Evans lead the way, 5 seconds ahead of Martin McCormack, Barney Mitchell, Paul Barrett, Rory McCann, just 0.2 of a second back though. Ben Friend with Oshan Owen. No Cliffy Simmons this weekend in the Mark II, in the all-glass Anglia car. Former British Historic Rally champion. Will be looking for a good start to his campaign here. Richard Hill, Patrick Cooper alongside. These guys are a bit neater and tidier, aren't they? Not hooking the ditch like the four-wheel drive cars. And that Mini, of course, earlier on. In terms of the BTRDA leaderboard, as things stand, it's interesting. Matthew Hurst, Elliot Payne, Alex Vassallo were the top 3 in the championship last season. At the moment, Elliot Payne has the measure of both of those guys. It is Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh, Daniel Sigurdarsson, Asta Sigurdartia, Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees, fresh from their fire on the Border Counties rally, of course. Matthew Hurst, Jack Bowen, in that order. Paul Thompson, Josh Davidson alongside. Had a good night at the RAC Remembered evening over near York. Oh, goodness me, it's almost 2 months ago. And Paul was one of the guests on stage, a real character, talking about the Yorkshire Rally Mafia adventures on the Roger Albert Clark Rally, of course. And the Irishman Damien Tourish joins us here at Rally North Wales with Kevin Duggan alongside in the historic escort. Number of new names, or names we don't often see on these rallies out this weekend, which is interesting. And as far as the BTRDA series is concerned, a couple of new names who we expect to be in there and fighting for points as well. Someone who is certainly making his mark early on through the first stage is James Wilson. And also always interesting when long-time stalwarts of the series get into the next level of car. Russ Thompson climbing into a Fiesta R5 for the first time in 2026. And it might be an older model compared to the Rally 2 cars you have out there, but look what he did with the Evo. was a sight to behold, wasn't it? Nick Elliott, Dave Price alongside in the Fiat 131 Abarth. Another of the cars to be waving its front wheel in the air. Very spectacular indeed. We should have started the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series on the 7th of March in the Lake District for the Malcolm Wilson Rally, which was very sadly cancelled. So this is the first round, Rally North Wales. After this, it's the Kielder Forest Rally next month, the 18th of April, based in Hexham. After that, we go to the Plains Rally. We're back in Wales and back in North Wales, in fact, on the 13th of June. Nicky Grist stages up next after that, the 11th of July, based in Mid Wales in both Wales. And then we're over to God's Country in Yorkshire for the Track Rod Forest stages on the 26th of September, based in Filey on the Yorkshire coast. The Cambrian Rally and the Grisdale stages on the 24th of October and the 5th of December, respectively. Finishing things off for us, Bob Morgan, Adi Williams in the Skoda Fabia R5. Look like they're going well through here. Looking forward to seeing how Tom Cave gets on. We'll see him next. Keaton Williams alongside in the historic Escort. It's quite an all-star entry for this opening round. And goodness me, it feels like we've been waiting long enough for it, doesn't it? Alistair Ginley, Kim Gray drop into 6th in the BTRDA Cruise. 8th overall at this stage. As you see there, Tom Cave, the ex-BRC man, going for British Historic Rally Championship honours in 2026. Shane McGeer, Denver Rafferty in 11th overall on the rally. Not registered for points, but just outside the top 10 in that ladder. Ahead of Dan O'Brien and Niall Burns as well. Pat Naylor, Tom Bishop put a 9:28 in, which puts them 11th. No, doesn't it put them 9th, doesn't it, in the BTRDA Cruise? 13th overall anyway on the overall leaderboard. Trevor Gamble, Chris Davies coming in behind them. Just 3 seconds behind the veteran driver. How good does that look? Jeff Smith and Joe Dunn in their Evo 6 doing a bit of ditch hucking themselves. We're getting to the point with, I know that's not a historic spec car, but we're getting to the point with the historic spec cars where, you know, Evo 3s are coming out, and we still see those on rallies in the Interclub part of the rally. So to have them out as historics feels very strange indeed. Former Bronze Star front runner here in the BTRDA Rally Series, Pete Gorse, is back in his Evo 9 after the big accident he had last season on the Woodpecker. He'll be looking to make this first round count. Mark Twynham alongside. And there's David Tomlin with Keith Ashley alongside. Sounds more like an Evo on the overrun that than a Fiesta R5, doesn't it? And I'm quite convinced it is a proper, it is an R5, yeah. No one else then making a mark on the top of the overall leaderboard. Myron Evans and Dale Furness have things all their own way there at the moment. 5 seconds clear of Max McRae and Cameron Fair. But as far as our Protyre BTRDA Rally Championship crews are concerned, they start in third with Elliot Payne and Patrick Walsh, the former multiple BTRDA Gold Star champions, leading the way from 3rd overall, ahead of Daniel Sigurdarsson, Asta Sigurdottir. Only 8 seconds ahead as well at this early stage. Rudy Lancaster, all out of shape, wasn't he there? As the, I don't know if you see on the camera, but the snow is still sort of drifting around. It's still coming down. Snow at the end of March. The day before the clocks go forward was not on my bingo card this weekend. We're in a quite fortunate position to be shielded by the van, the studio van here, so counting our lucky stars as well, but not as much as Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen through this opening stage. If you missed that, if you're watching on the YouTube live stream, you can scroll back to the beginning. Just have a look at Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen through here in that Delta Auto Salvage Skoda, throwing the car into that ditch with the wheels pointing skyward, managing to get away with it. But like us, I'm sure Matthew will be wondering just how. Luck on his side in this opening stage of the day. And you need a bit of luck in this game, as you see Michael McDade with Harry Stubbs alongside. Look out for David Gowing with Emma Clark alongside. David's first event in over 30 years. Just looking to have some seat time and some big grins this weekend in the Metric of Leicester White and Blue Mark II. Look out for that. Great stories. I love the stories about people returning to the sport after 30 odd years out of it. Just shows we still have something to give, and you never really let it go. That's the thing. When you return and do a one-off, it's more fatal than the first time around. It's fatal enough when you start going into the sport and it takes over your life. Colin Griffiths with Mark Morgan alongside in the Impreza. Back to the four-wheel drives briefly before Ben Smith and Stephen Smith bark that 3-litre Porsche through the Welsh hillside. If you just tuned in, welcome to the first round of the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. It is the Get Jerky Rally North Wales, and we're in the first stage of the day, the Braces Family Bred Aberhirnan stage, just short of 9 miles of a total of 45.6 miles in some pretty iconic North Wales forestry this weekend. Up next, the crews head to Dyfnant North, the Woolacombe Bay Holiday Park's Dyfnant North. That's Rudy Lancaster's holiday park, isn't it? And then Dyfnant South, where Phil Bramwell will be laying in wait. Jez Rogers alongside Simon Webster this weekend, as usual, in that historic escort. Another name returning in his Flying Kiwi escort. It'd be great to see him back as well after a few odd one-off appearances in the last few seasons. Has got some things squared up back at home, and now he is back on the stages. Boyd Kershaw. Great to have the Craven driver, originally from New Zealand, of course, back with us here in the BTRDA, and Keegan Rees alongside. I remember when we first started doing this. This is our 17th year at Special Stage of bringing you these rallies. And I remember Keegan coming to say hello to us and getting some stickers and a picture when he was a little kid with his mum and dad in, I think it was at the Cambrian, that. He was only a little lad. And now, a very well-heeled competitor in his own right. And back alongside his mate, Boyd Kershaw, which is great to see. Looking forward to seeing them out. And there they are. Bang on cue there for Boyd. It sounds like the car's got a slight misfire, doesn't it? For those of you asking, I will give you an update of the historic cruise. Yes. Unfortunately, we have to flick through different results different results sheets to get the historics, which feels unnecessarily clunky. George Lepley, David Evans lead the way from Damien Turish and Kevin Duggan, who are surprisingly quick on unfamiliar territory. Great to have Stefan Stoof with us, isn't it? Paul McCann alongside in the RS 1800. Last time we saw him, of course, was the Roger Albert Clark Rally. Martin McCormack, Barney Mitchell, third of the historic cruise at this stage. Then Paul Barrett, Rory McCann putting in a good first shift through this opening Aberhirnan stage. Nick Elliott, Dave Price in that glorious Fiat 131, fifth of the historics. Tom Cave behind him. Then it's Richard Hill, Simon Webster, Ben Friend, and Ben Smith rounding out the top 10 at this stage. That is your historic cruise. In terms of the overall leaderboard, if you're just tuning in, here is an update for you. Myron Evans, Dale Furness lead the way from Max McRae and Cameron Fair. Neither of those pair registered for BTRDA points. So the first of our championship point scoring cruise at this stage. Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh in third overall, just ahead of Daniel Sigardis and Asta Sigurdottir as the crews make their way through to the second stage. Duvenant North, and we'll give you results from that as well as we get them in. Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees in fifth overall, third of the BTRDA crews at this stage. Then Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen lead Liam Clark and Michael Gilby. Matthew Hurst, Jack Bowen lucky to be in the fight still after a very dramatic moment on that corner that you see there being tackled by Andy Davies. Owen Davies alongside. Sounds like there's a bit of an unfortunate misfire on that Wales Motorsport Escort there. Lovely looking car. Be frustrated to start the day with a misfire, but it's one of those things. Not the only one either, is he? The second of the Fiat 131s should be next up. Jack Mathewson, Chris Williams alongside. No, it's not. Running out of order then. Gavin Edwards. Yeah, we didn't see Gavin earlier, did we? Haron Tomlinson alongside. So just drop back in road order slightly. We should see the Mathewsons, Bangers and Cashman in the second of the Fiat 131s through next. I haven't actually seen this car on the stages yet. The only chance I got, Jack had retired before he got to me. Or did he even not start? I don't think. So I'm looking forward to seeing this machine on the gravel. And Jack Mathewson has certainly burst onto the scene, and his Escort was very entertaining. And I expect him to be just as much so in that Fiat. Doesn't that look and sound glorious? If that's not a sight and a sound to wake you up on this Saturday morning, I don't know what is. Neat and tidy from the Mathewsons man. Recently became a dad. I'm sure the family will be watching back at home. Hello to you and hello to the rest of the Mathewsons if you're watching Jack's progress here on the live stream. Be interested to see how he goes this year in that Fiat 131. He's certainly got the tool for the job, if we can put it that way, and not pile too much pressure on the Yorkshireman. Another Yorkshireman I'm looking forward to seeing through very shortly will be Ben Jemison. Adam Burkill alongside in the Chevette HSR. Adam, whose dad, Roger Burkill, was a very active member of the Yorkshire rally scene and was very passionate about getting youngsters into the sport, and held a road rally navigation for beginners session at the Motorist last year before very sadly losing out to his battle with cancer late last year, which desperately sad to hear about. Great to see Adam out with Ben this weekend. As you see Keith Jones, Clive Jones alongside in the Impreza. Looking for the freshly rebuilt Evo 9 of Pete Gorst. Should be up next, a man who used to fight for overall results in the Bronze Star here in the BTRDA. And he's now looking to get up to speed in that Evo. Yeah, neat and tidy. Quite a nice gathering of spectators here in this opening stage, and I understand that is true of a number of the stages on the route today. Seemed busy in Bala this morning. A lot of buzz around this Rally North Wales. Alan Dixon, Ewan Lees alongside the Farborough R5, just getting it sideways on this corner here. The car just looking a little loose, wasn't it? But managed to get away without any ditch incidents, perhaps getting sideways on this first corner here. Setting him up a little better for that. I had to laugh earlier. I was looking through I was flicking between results. I was just looking through I got lost basically down a wormhole with the Larder Challenge, and there was a brilliant, I think it's the 1985 Track Rod Club magazine. There's a brilliant write-up from Peter Compton, who was doing the Larder Challenge at that point. And he'd had a 6.5-hour journey to Felixstowe for one particular rally. And he said if it got cancelled, somebody was definitely going to suffer. And the scrutineer was a pain in the bum. I love it. Very matter of fact. Ben Jemison, Adam Burkill looking fresh. That Vauxhall Chevette HSR, isn't it? Another of the drivers who joined me at the RAC Rally Remembered event a couple of months ago in North Yorkshire. The Jemisons, a big Yorkshire rallying family. Ian Jemison, you will know from rallying that very well-known Porsche Boxster. Actually, Ben's bonnet came up on the Roger Albert Clark in that Chevette, and he just carried on driving, such as the big gap at the back of the bonnet. It didn't actually affect his vision at all. But the in-car from it is absolutely hilarious. If you're on social media with Ben, do look for that video, because it's really funny. His reaction inside the car when the bonnet goes up, which is probably one of the most horrific things to happen when you're driving down a rally stage and the bonnet flies up. But if you're going to do it in a Chevette, because there's a bigger gap where the bonnet hinges are, so you can see more when the bonnet's up in the air. Pete Gorse, Mark Twynham putting a 9:47 in through this first stage then. 20th on the overall leaderboard, just ahead of Boyd Kershaw and Keegan Rees, 3 seconds behind. Wow, Sean Ball and Cliffy Simmons, who would normally be found inside Ben Friend's car, has found a new car this weekend, and a Rothmans Escort it is for this first round of the championship, and very nicely done through there. Rothmans Escort, that sideways ditch hooking in a stage in North Wales that has featured on the World Rally Championship through the years, is quite a sight. Should be listening for the Peugeot 208 Rally 4, which will have a pretty unmistakable sound of Sam Mason with James Seymour alongside. Up next, the first of the 1400 Bronze Star crews will be our Bronze Star champion, Dylan Fowler-Bishop. Dan Evans alongside, just as last year, the pair that took the Bronze Star title after a pretty epic battle all year, and a tie-break, a close finish between them and Nigel and Kaz Jenkins. They will lead the way this weekend on the Bronze Star entry. We'll see from them shortly. Seemingly the car to step up into for youngsters looking to get up the rungs of the rally ladder at the moment. That Peugeot 208 Rally 4. Charlie Mathewson is competing in one this season. Johan Lloyd, of course. And Robert Proudlock as well, isn't he? Competing in one of those. There's Woolgutting, Bob Stocko alongside. They've done these stages a few times in their time, haven't they? And that Group N, Subaru Impreza, that he has campaigned for many years. Tim Green up next with Jordan Joins alongside, registered for championship points here in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. First of the Ignition Motorsport competitors as well. Colin Minton and Izzy Holman a little further back on the entry. Good to see Dave Brick. Freddie Brick entered in the 1400s as well at this opening round. Always an entertaining battle when the Bricks are out in the Bronze Star. The seeding not really going down very well with those who would normally run at the head of the field. The 1400s, the Bronze Star included in that. But I guess we'll have to see how it goes. Lots of chatter about changing it. Not great in events where the forestry has been well used and the grading's fresh, and by the end of the day the stages are pretty rough for the competitors at the back of the field, that is for sure. Shouldn't be too much of an issue here. The stages look absolutely immaculate. Certainly driving through this Aberhynant stage this morning was a pleasure. Usually you're bouncing around. You see Tim Green, that lovely GC8 Impreza. You're normally bouncing around and clunking and listening for every bit of the car you're taking off underneath when you're driving into these stages to do the filming. But not so this morning. It was a pleasure driving in. So. Nicely done, but almost getting into that ditch for Brian Jardine and Declan Campbell. That has to be the most forgiving ditch in British rallying, because we've had some do's in there this morning, haven't we? And I know I mentioned it already, but do scroll back if you're watching on YouTube, or if not, when the stream's ended, have a look at the first part when Matthew Hurst and Declan Deere go into that ditch. The car waving its front end into the air, and somehow they managed to get away with it. Somehow. Our reigning BTRDA Gold Star champion, with Jack Bowen alongside. Declan Deere not available for this round. Just debating whether it's almost due time, actually. It's normally only a big life event that will stop Declan Deere doing a rally with Matthew Hurst. Best wishes to Gemma and Declan either way. Nick Dobson, who has his Sunday name on the entry list. I think Phil Sander must have filled that one in. Nicholas Dobson. Phil Sander alongside. There's some experience inside that car, isn't there? Be careful how you say these things. It's a great looking car, that one, of Tony Thompson's and John Connor's. Cobots Online livery looks great on a Mark II. Do you know what I saw on the way to Bala last night? Just between Welshpool and Bala was a Peugeot 309 GTI. When did you last see one of them? And it wasn't a show pony. It wasn't an immaculate car that was just out getting a bit of fuel, ready for a classic car show or something like that. It was properly used. The rear bumper was hanging off, and it was a little bit rusty, but we didn't mind because it's a 309 GTI. I haven't seen one on the road for years. They didn't really rust as much as other hot hatches of the generation either, did they? So I'm not really sure where they all went, really. Nigel Cree, Seamus Cook alongside. The Protyre BTRDA Rally Series is sharing the billing this weekend at Rally North Wales here at the opening round with the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship and the Fuchs Lubricants British Historic Rally Championship, among other series, including the HRCR Mini Cup, and you'll see the crews from that ahead of the main field on all of the live stages we have for you today. So quite a busy, packed entry list, lots of variety for you. Our focus will be the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series, so that's the leaderboard we'll be really focusing our attention on today. You can follow all of the other results, we will keep you up to date, but you can follow all the other results at results.djames.org.uk. But the UK's premier gravel rally championship has got all the eyes on it for its opening round, a forced opening round given that we lost the Malcolm Wilson rally earlier in the season. We'll be live for stage 4 at 1:30 this afternoon, and Phil Bramwell will be live in stage 3, Dublin South, and stage 6, 10:10 and 3 o'clock this afternoon, respectively. Phil and Mick Squires, the Yorkshire pairs. Adventure starts here. And we should now be listening for the sound of a mighty Micra. As our Micra Rally Challenge champion and our BTRDA Bronze Star champion heads out into the first stage of the year to defend that title. Who will be fighting him for Bronze Star honours this year? Nigel and Kaz Jenkins yet to make an appearance on the entry list. It won't be them. Luke Watts is on the entry list. Will it be him? He was certainly getting up to speed in that MG ZR, wasn't he? Towards back end of last season. Nicely done from Dylan. the back end of that micro, dancing around over the crest and out of view. It's a lovely shot for you that we have here in this first stage of the day, isn't it? And there is our Bronze Star champion. Looks like Jeff Phelps has retired earlier on in this stage. We were expecting Jeff through next, but at the moment, stopped by the side of the stage. I'm sorry to say. Dave and Freddie Brick in their trusty Nova will be through next. And I wonder if Dave will be wearing his bowling shoes. That's one of my favourite pictures I ever took. There's a picture of Dave and Freddie's legs and bowling shoes in front of the Nova at the finish of, I think it was the Woodpecker, from memory. Maybe it was the Wydeen. Bowling shoes aren't really a thing anymore, are they? You don't get given them when you go bowling anymore. I lost that theatre. I used to hate it at the time, and now I miss it. Went with the kids not so long ago. Yeah, Dave's nicked them all, hasn't he? Got a message from Jess Armitage, daughter of Will Armitage, and Will and Jez are not here today because they've both had matching knee operation. I'm just reading the message. Will is here supporting Giles Armitage, but yeah, good luck with the recovery then, Will and Jez. There'll be no excuses when you get back in the car, will there? You'll be in great condition. Thanks for sending that, Jess. I did promise I would get to some of your comments, didn't I? And don't forget, if you do get involved on the live stream, you will be in the draw to win Rallying His Life vouchers. As you see, Mike Simpson and Ian Jones, and there, Dave and Freddie Brick. A lot of oil smoke from that Nova. I don't know if they've maybe definitely got an issue, haven't they? Came through slower than we expected there, and there was puffs of blue smoke out of the back of the car. Yeah, Declan Deer confirming that he's not here. Jack Bowen sitting in for him in that championship-winning Skoda with Matthew Hurst today. Ed James watching from service. The EJM prep cars will be going well today. No weather report today, Paul. Well, I did actually give you a weather report earlier, to be honest, Ed. So you clearly weren't listening. It was snowing and it was hailing here in the stage. I hope it's a little bit warmer where you are, mate. Phil Woodcock reporting it's warm and sunny at home in North Lincolnshire. There's Damien Cole. Ian Allsop alongside in the Get Connected Mark II. Great to see the multiple Asphalt Rally champion, 6-time Asphalt Rally champion here on the gravel in his Mark II. I haven't seen Damien for a little while. Joe Hughes is watching with young Mabel. They're loading the van for the Yorkshire Dales Rally tomorrow. Ah, yeah, good luck to everybody running in that. I do like the trophies. Nikki Jackson posted a photo of the trophies with the Rams on them. I thought that was brilliant. Really different. Not a rally I know a great deal about, to be honest, even though it's quite local. Have much to do with it, Wayne? No, not heard anything on it. But good luck to everybody. I'm sure there'll be a few watching to see if possibly it could be around at the Asphalt Championship in the future. And I'm sure there are some names on the entry list that are thinking the same. When you look down that entry list, they become very obvious for you. There's Colin Minton. Izzy Holman alongside I'm liking the setup in service. Ed James. I'm not sure what he means by his Sunday name, but it's only Saturday, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. Nice blue skies here in North Wales. Do not be fooled. You're looking at this and you're thinking it looks lovely and warm out there for Woodford's first BTRDA gig of the year, aren't you? It's not. It's freezing. And I'm stood in the van. Paul Burness, Elgin Davies alongside in the Rally Nuts Motorsport Fiesta. Good to see the Rally Nuts name coming back out. I was disappointed to see it disappear. And of course, won't be sponsoring the Severn Valley stages this year, but Rally Nuts will continue, which is great news. Mike Curry says there's snow on the hills, but nice and sunny in Dumfries and Galloway. It is weather watch here today, isn't it? Jenna Dalgetty says it's snowing in Inverness. I'll tell you what, it's going to be like RAC rally weather in Aberdeen next year for Rally Scotland, isn't it? Duncan Hill says he used to be a mechanic heavily involved in the Larder Challenge. Great times battling on the RAC and British Championships. Debbie Thompson's watching from sunny Welshpool. All you guys are in the draw to win a Rallying Is Life voucher. Rob Dennis, Andy Boswell there. It's a £15 voucher, so you can get yourself something nice off the Rallying His Life website or put it towards something a little more pricey. There's some really nice stuff on there, actually. Dan Elmore has really got his thinking cap on for how it can produce a range of rally merchandise. And we always get asked for special stage merchandise, which is where the idea came from, really, for us in the first place. So you can get your special stage merchandise on the Rallying His Life website, and you can get yourself a £15 voucher by just being involved. Talking on the live coverage today. Same for the Welsh as well. So when you join Phil for stage 3, which will be in just a moment, actually. A few questions asking how Jack Matthewson is doing. So although we're not covering the historics and they've made it as difficult as possible to cover by being on different results sheets, let's have a look, shall we? After all that, he's not actually showing. Oh, yes, he is, sorry. 15th historic is Jack Matthewson. Chris Williams alongside. And 9:38. So we should now have time, shouldn't we, from stage 2. It's a lovely looking Mark 1 of Tony Williams, isn't it? No times through from the second stage. No, sorry. I've been proved wrong, but only just. Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen have put in a time for the second stage, so keep an eye on that one as soon as we start to get the times through from the second stage. It's a 7:27.7 for our reigning Protyre BTRDA Rally Champion and Welsh Rally Champion indeed. Be some seat for Jack Bowen. Keeping that one warm for Declan Deer today. That is for sure. The second of the Matthewsons should be through shortly. Charlie Matthewson in the Peugeot that I mentioned earlier. His debut in that car, I think, isn't it? Sorry, that's Tony Williams, isn't it? And there's Tony Simpson. Great to have Tony back out. Simon Rogers alongside. And registered for BTRDA Gold Star points in that Seacon UK Fiesta as well, I'm delighted to say. So we should see a bit of Tony this year. Been a while since we saw Tony Simpson do a full campaign here in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. And to be honest, the R2 Rally Cup could do with a bit of a boost, so great timing to be throwing your hat in the ring as well. Mr. Simpson, the part-time comedian from Liverpool. Did you know that? Don't think he does as much of that anymore, but certainly used to do a fair bit of it. It seems strange for us being back stage side, because a lot of the rallies we've been covering lately have been stage end and stage coverage, which means I'm posted at the stage end, so I get to chat to the drivers and co-drivers and get a feel for what's going on. It's a different way of doing it, being back here stage side, but we get to see some rally cars at full tilt, like that one, Dale Glover and David Smalley in the Alfa Sud TI, a car which, when it first came out, was plagued, and I mean plagued, with issues, wasn't it? It barely finished a rally. And then you fast forward, what were they, 7th in the Bronze Star title fight in 2025, and have managed to develop and get that Alfa Sud not only reliable but pretty formidable as well. Will they be fighting for Bronze Star honours, I wonder? Debut in the Peugeot 208 Rally 4 for the former double junior rally champion and the reigning mini rally champion, Charlie Matthewson. Let's see what he can do with that. He's excelled in everything he's climbed into so far. Josh Carr alongside. A young crew in a new car, brimming with confidence and with nothing but championships to his name since beginning rallying in the juniors a few years ago. A lovely family and a hell of a driver. Looking forward to seeing Charlie Matthewson's progress this season. Still struggling slightly for times. Oh no. And that is Charlie Matthewson. I got all excited and got confused with my Peugeot 208s, didn't I? It was Rally Chester, of course it was, with the blue and black livery before. Another young driver, up-and-coming driver, Robbie Sanford alongside in the similar car. So it'll be interesting to compare their times today. Sam Mason as well. See how the Peugeot drivers get on. Another talented junior driver was in the same seasons as Charlie Matthewson was Riley. Absolutely love that sunbeam. Darren Edwards, Richard Morgan alongside. That is some car, and that livery as well. And there's a great backstory to that car, which I might share with you later as well. Right, to the times before I confuse any more Peugeot 208s. Myron Evans, Dale Furness, fastest again through the second stage. Davenant North. It's a 7:17 from them. 7 seconds behind Max McRae, Cameron Fair, and then the first of our BTRDA crews, Matthew Hurst, Jack Bowen, getting things back on track. No scares for them in that stage like there was in that first stage this morning. A 7:27, 10 seconds off the overall lead of the rally, but that won't matter to them because it is about the BTR. Well, it will matter to them, but you know what I mean. It's about the championship points to defend that Gold Star title. That's what they're looking for. Almost Audi Sport colours on Oliver Phillips and Barry Young's Vauxhall Adam R2, isn't it? Another entry into the R2 Rally Cup here in the BTRDA. Good to have you on board, Oliver. Let's see how you go in 2026. Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh then, just over a second slower than Matthew Hurst through that first stage. Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees. A fair way back. I don't know if they've maybe had a bit of an issue through there. 7:42 for Vassallo. Liam Clark, Michael Gilby, a 7:50. So both those crews maybe had some kind of issue through that second stage. They seem like big gaps. Daniel Sigurdsson, Asta Sigurdottir, a 7:40 from there. Maybe they're just astonishingly quick times from Matt Hurst and Elliot Payne. Looking at the other times dropping in. James Wilson, Paul Mulholland, 7:53.3. 8th fastest through that second stage so far. So what does that mean for the overall leaderboard? Well, at the moment, Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen, our reigning champion driver, trails the former multiple BTRDA Gold Star champion Elliot Payne by just under 8 seconds. After 2 stages, the Gold Star leaderboard looks like this. Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh, Matthew Hurst, Jack Bowen, Daniel Sigurdsson, Asta Sigurdottir, Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees, Liam Clark, Michael Gilby, James Wilson, Paul Mulholland. That's your top 6 as things stand. Myron Evans and Max McRae leading and second place in the rally overall at this stage, but not registered for championship points. Myron is, though, registered for Welsh Championship points, so will feature in the story of the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship. And Phil Bramwell is live in stage 3, Davenant South, as we speak. So plenty of ways to follow the action today, and no excuses to miss any of it. 6 stages, and we're live for 4 of them on special stage. 2 for the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series and 2 for the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship. We'll be live for the second running of this Aberhernant stage this afternoon at 1:30. Meanwhile, Phil Bramwell will be live for stage 3, Davenant South 1, and stage 6, Davenant South 2, which will be at around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Mark Bentley being followed through the stage by John Gribbins. Loosely followed. Ed Bentley, Colin Blunt co-driving in those cars respectively. A few more of our Bronze Star BTRDA competitors coming up. Really interested to see how Luke Watts and Matt Rogers get on this season in that MG ZR. And then Chris Bush. He's been quick in the Nova. Sorry, the Nova, the Corsa. Steve Chaplin with Rich Suter alongside, channeling his inner Steve Bannister there. The livery on that Mark II. And why not? People do Roger Clark liveries, don't they? David Pedley, Grace Pedley, his daughter alongside. They do a lot of events, those two. Proper dad and daughter days out in the Mark II. So Chris Bush was 10th in the Bronze Star standings in 2025. We'll be looking to make a mark on the series this season in that Corsa, I am sure. Should be listening for the Boxer engine note of our World Paris Subaru, Katrina Price alongside. And then we're back to Bronze Star. No, we're on to Bronze Star right now. There he is, Luke Watts. Using all of the road there. Nice and clean, though. That was fast. Nice job there from Luke. We'll see where he drops in when that time comes through at the end of this first stage. Russ Thompson, Stephen Link put in a 10th fastest time. Through stage 2, or do they? Yeah, 7:57 from Russ. Andrew Fox with Jamie Lee Fox alongside in that 325 E30 BMW. We don't seem to have Arwell Parry, unless I've lost him on the tracker underneath another car. We were expecting Arwell, who is registered for BTRDA points this season, I'm pleased to say. But it doesn't look like they've made it into the stage, to be honest with you. I'll keep an eye out to see what the story is there. Sounds like Chris Bush, it is. Rob Chicken Jones alongside. That rear bumper seems to be more cut away every year. In fact, I'm not sure they could cut it away anymore now, because it wouldn't be a bumper, would it? Always interesting when competitors have been campaigning cars over the years to see how they've changed and developed them over those years. The what used to be the Production Cup Evos in the BTRDA Gold Star, particularly Pat Naylor and Russ Thompson, as of last season, of course. They became very highly developed cars. Hello to Rodri Evans. You're watching stage 1, Abby Hirnant, and Phil Bramwell will be live in stage 3 in Duvenant South, if you do want to catch some action there. Mally Wynn is cheering on Dad in car number 114. Brindley Thomas, of course. Here's Tim Phelps. Elwin Manuel alongside in the Brit Park Mark II. Done a bit already this year, hasn't he? Jock Dean agreeing with me. It's sunny, but a wee bit chilly in the wind. It is a wee bit chilly. Gavin Spencer's enjoying the spot that we've got with the action that we've had here. GF Rally Media hoping that Elliot Payne makes it to what looks like it's going to be a very wet and windy Yorkshire Dales rally. Tomorrow, of course, there'll be a few crews, but Elliot Payne one of the leading crews who will be hoping to back-to-back it. Hello to Neil Williams, Hazel Griffiths. Hazel cheering on. Colin and Mark Morgan, car 32. David Lloyd Thomas says, 2 stages at the same time. You really are spoiling us today. Warren Philliskirk, enjoying the coverage. Good to have you with us, Warren. Do you know, I found a picture the other day of your Metro 6R4 back when, before the MKM Stadium was built in Hull, when they used to use the fairground for the start of the North Humberside stages. And I was with my dad. I was only a kid. I'd been to look at the photo shoot that they were doing for the Seat Ibiza Cupra Sport Cup or whatever it was called, and you came driving around. You were car number 1 in the Metro 6R4, came driving around behind me, and there's a picture of me with that Metro behind. They were good days, weren't they? Ernie and Patricia Lee in that M3, freshly re-prepped for this season and looking and sounding lovely. Hello to Jamie Forrest, Elwyn Pritchard, David Bonning from DMB Graphics UK, watching from home, having a lazy day, enjoying the coverage. Why don't you make it a really good lazy day by firing up that Escort WRC and that Repsol Escort of yours and heading up the lane? That's what I think you should do, David. Alex Lewis is watching from a very sunny Pembrokeshire and enjoying the coverage today. Bob Wiggins watching from work in York. What's work, Bob? As in, where do you work, not what's work? I suppose I can't really call this work, can I? Can I call it work? I've been lucky enough to call it work for many years. 17 years we've been doing this now, and I'm still 17 years in trying to persuade Wayne Goldring to do an interview with me. I managed to get a few words out of him on the behind the scenes video we did a couple of years ago, but even then he edited that out before it went online. Dan Chester with Paul Bevan alongside in a glorious looking GC8 Subaru. That's a very nice looking machine, isn't it? Sounds almost Group A, but it didn't sound like it was going very well. It sounded a little bit poorly. Possibly. Hello to Mike Reed, who was saying yesterday he's missing being out with John Millington in his Mark II. Matthew Jones says, drive it like you stole it. I'm trying to work out who you were saying that about. Most of them, where that ditch is concerned. Ian Gwynn says, enjoying the coverage. The stages look great. They do, don't they? If you look on the second live stream for the Welsh Championship, you'll see Phil Bramill's live as well. And Duvenant South looks good as well. Steve McNulty is watching from Barbados. Very jealous, Steve. Rally tomorrow over there. A shakedown rally, is it? Getting ready for the big one, Rally Barbados, in a few weeks' time. Can you believe it's here already? I'm gutted not to be coming out this year. Wyn Lewis is wishing us a good morning from work himself, from Composites Cymru. Joined me on my second episode of the Rally Club podcast a couple of weeks ago and talked about where his love for the sport came from, growing up in West Wales on the lanes of the Kilwendeg, and how he came to run a composites firm specialising in composite guards for all manner of rally cars all over the world. Some of the top teams in this country and globally use a little firm in West Wales that produces composite rally car guards. It's a great little news story, that, isn't it? Plenty of you double teaming it, either watching the coverage today and then going to the Yorkshire Dales Rally tomorrow, or the other way round indeed. Steve Corky Ward, John Millington. That is a car full of Yorkshire Rally Mafia. If you have read, or you're lucky enough to own, the now sold out book by Jonathan Pullin, you'll know what I'm talking about. But those two have done their bit over the years, haven't they? And they're still going at it. Great guns as well. Geraint Williams, Van Rollins, another of our Bronze Star competitors here in 2026. It wouldn't be a Bronze Star without an Over, a Micra, and a Corsa battling it out, would it? We need the Protons back out. So wait, Roger Priestnell's come back out in his. David Dobson, Graham Wild alongside in the Mark II. Back in the day, I always used to point out that David had no arches on his Mark II, and it was a point of much amusement for him. So there we are, David, if you're watching this back. The unarched Dobson Mark II. Just for you. I'll give you an update on the leaderboards shortly. The cars making their way through stage 3. As you'll know if you've joined Phil Bramwell on the Welsh Rally Championship coverage. 4 live stages out of the 6 today. And if you fancy something a little bit different, how about some comp safari in between the stages we've got for you live today? You can check out some of the initial action from the all-wheel drive championship at Walters Arena, and we'll have a roundup of the action for you on special stage very soon. But comp safari, if you haven't explored it, if you haven't checked out that part of the sport, it's almost like where rallying was in the late 90s, early 2000s, with cars very much of a similar ilk to the incredible Peugeot Cosworth that we all talk so much about. James Chambers and James Brown in the another Rothmans Mark II. The Rothmans Mark IIs are breeding. Not quite as leery as Sean Bolt's from a little earlier, though, was it? Cliffy Simmons was almost looking at the sky going through that corner, but not as much as Jack Bone was in the co-driving seat of the championship-winning Skoda Fabia of Matthew Hurst. Still can't believe how lucky they were to get away. I mean, we're pleased they did, obviously, but how lucky they were to get away with that moment, should we call it, through this first stage. Alex Kirkwillie, Dan Petrie alongside, back in the Weaver Motorsport Corsa Super 1600. Having been out in his brand new Peugeot 306 Maxi, the car we saw tested, shall we say, at the Roger Albert Clark Rally by Neil Weaver himself. But great to see the car out at Donington Park, and now back in the forests in a Corsa Super 1600. Can't be bad. I don't blame you, Alex. Just as we look forward to the brand new Peugeot 205 Challenge, we don't have an awful lot of 205s here today, I've got to say. John Greaves there and Russell Thompson co-driving in the Mark II. Remarkably, only 2 Peugeot 205 GTIs on the entry. Giles Armitage and Josh Rhodes. And then the Retro Race and Rally crew. Paul Clayton and Rebecca Lee. And we'll see from them, but it is the Retro Race and Rally team that are running this Peugeot 205 Challenge that's coming back out. So keep an eye on that one. That's going to be interesting to see if that gets the support that I hope and think it should. Paul, off the back of some pretty sad family news, losing both mum and dad in the last few weeks. So he's certainly digging deep to come here in that Peugeot 205 this weekend. And as you see, Peter Hinton and Lewis Sim. Alistair Bassett messaged me actually to say that he gets Spirit of the Rally for him. Dad was instrumental in Paul Clayton's early love of rallying. Wife Vera is away on family business, so he's got a novice co-driver alongside to guide him through the rally. And Alistair was just keen that there was a mention of Paul Clayton's dad coming into what will be quite a poignant weekend for them. Look out for that Peugeot 205 GTI coming along shortly. Paul Clayton, car 116. Yeah, you just knew that Conrad was coming in too hot there, didn't you? Conrad boss, Alan Horn in the RS 2000. I tell you what, I stand by what I said, Wayne. That's the most forgiving ditch in British rallying. There's not many ditches you could get away with the amount of moments we've had in that one there. The spectators and the photographers over there will be delighted they picked that spot. Well played, ladies and gents, because there's been some action in that ditch today, hasn't there? From the 5th of the minis this morning, right through to our reigning champ. And then there, Conrad Boss. As the snow, ladies and gentlemen, starts to fall again, would you believe? Another entry into our R2 Rally Cup here in the BTRDA. Rhiann Walker, Paul Gribben alongside in the Opel. Adam, another pair. I'm looking forward to seeing how they go. I'm not sure if this is even snow or hailstones, but it is coming down. And we just didn't expect this. It's got like a wind chill factor of -3 or something today here in North Wales. The actual temperatures when the wind stops are okay. So where this Arctic weather's coming from, I've got no idea. But I was not expecting snow on Rally North Wales. I was expecting snow on the opening round of the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series, but that was meant to be the Malcolm Wilson Rally, and that's a little earlier in the year, and we do expect snow on that one, but not this one. Oliver Wright, Stephen Baxter alongside, screaming that straight six. BMW through the hills here. The hills are well and truly alive with the sound of rally cars, aren't they? To remind you, Phil Bramwell is live from stage 3 as we speak. So if you've got the luxury of 2 screens, you can have 2 live stages from special stage at once here from Rally North Wales. Doesn't get much better than that, does it? I will give you a recap. Brilliant. I've got some reading on the Larder Challenge from Neil Henderson. I'll have a read through those clippings and maybe share those in this afternoon's live stage. Thank you for that, Neil. Hope you're well. I do like little bits of nerdery that come out from Neil when I'm live on special stage. I do want to just check the Bronze Star leaderboard, actually. In the battle of the 208 Rally 4s, the Peugeots, Riley Chester, Robbie Sanford leading the way at the moment from 26th on the overall leaderboard, but just 2 positions back, Charlie Mathewson and Josh Carr. They're only, what, 5 seconds behind. First time in the car for Charlie. And then Sam Mason, James Seymour, less than a second behind. So that's going to be a battle to watch unfold, isn't it? What of the Bronze Star, though? At the moment, Dale Glover and David Smalley lead the Bronze Star in the Alphasud. What was I saying? Don't want to say too much and curse that one, obviously. Dylan Fowler-Bishop, Dan Evans, second in the Bronze Star at this point. And then third, Luke Watts and Matt Rogers. And 0.4 of a second ahead after 2 stages. No, that'll be after 1 stage, won't it? Of Chris Bush in the Corsa. So all to play for early on in the Bronze Star, and a good battle for the podium places opening up there. Darren Howard with Liam Howard alongside in the escort. First few times in for stage 3, actually, so just keep an eye on that. And let's have a look. 3 times available. Myron Evans and Dale Furness really are pulling out a lead at the front of this rally. Fastest through all 3 stages so far. 5 seconds faster than Max McRae and Cameron Fair through the 3rd stage. Divinant South, Matthew Hurst, Jack Bowen, 8 seconds back from McRae. Now with that moment from stage 1, hopefully well and truly behind them and not in Matthew's mind. Crucially, though, Elliot Payne and Patrick Walsh take 4 seconds out of our reigning champion. It is a battle of the champions here in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. Does mean, at the moment, that is quite a lead for the Yorkshireman. Well, 2 Yorkshiremen, isn't it? But Elliot Payne, what has he got? A almost 13-second lead at the moment, ahead of Matthew Hurst and Jack Bowen. Both those crews scoring points in the championship, and it matters. Adam Durston Hillier, Daniel James, the Aberdare crew you see there on this first stage. Still got a feeling we've got a bit of action to go with that ditch. Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees put in the 5th fastest time so far through the 3rd stage. 20 seconds off the lead pace of Myron Evans and Dale Furness. Don't forget Alex Vassallo, Chris Lees, off the back of a fairly dramatic Border Counties rally, part of the Scottish Rally Championship, not this year part of the BTRDA series. The car caught fire, has been rebuilt. Car 97, I told you we were due a little bit of action in that ditch, but you really do need to be careful where you're standing if you're watching these rallies. It's a pretty ridiculous place to be standing, to be honest with you. One person's actions like that can really ruin it for the rest of us. So just don't be that person, please. I'll say no more on that, but you can make your own minds up. Marshals will now deal with that robustly, I am sure. Daniel Sigurdarsson, Asta Sigurdartia. 6:29.8, opening out, isn't it? The gaps in the top 10 leaderboard at the moment, and in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series leaderboard. Gethin Price, Stephen Brown in the Micra kit car. How good does that look? John Adams, James Wardle with the Escort pair in the 1600 Sport, one of the HRCR competitors, and also I believe registered for Welsh points as well. Bonnet up on the Escort. It didn't look like they'd done a huge amount of damage, but unlike the rest of the crews, they'd sort of bounced through that ditch at fairly high speed and perhaps just done something underneath that we can't see. Co-driver getting back in though. As you see, Michael Jenkins getting slowed down. Really on it there though, isn't he? Christian Brown alongside for this season in the Fiesta R2, the third of the Ignition Motorsport cars that we've had through. Had an incredible season in 2025 as far as the BTRDA was concerned. Someone really wants to get hold of somebody in the van next to where we're parked. I'm going to send producer Wayne to answer it in a minute. We'll put them live on the coverage. Rob Aslett, Ashley Aslett alongside in the Impreza. One of the Welsh Championship crews. You can watch that live stream with Phil Bramwell as we speak. This is the second round of the British Historic Rally Championship, of course. First was the Raponian in February. I bet it was warmer then than it is here in North Wales. The Severn Valley stages is next up for the British Historic Rally Championship crews, and then they will be sharing the billing with us on the Rally Isle of Man on the asphalt when we're there for the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. Then the Historics are back on the gravel in June for the Carlisle stages, and then back to the asphalt and up to the Scottish Peninsula in June for the Argyll Rally. Track Rod and Anglo-Caledonian follow from there to complete their season. Julian Bailey, Emir Hall. Couldn't be much more local for Julian's from Bala. That's where I stayed last night. 15 minutes down the road. Nice little town. I ate in a really nice pizzeria and I had the best garlic mushrooms I think I've ever had. And the waitress said to me, yeah, everyone says that. The secret is soy sauce. Soy sauce in garlic mushrooms. Amazing. If Tim Rogers is listening, be loving this. Bit of culinary delight. I'd be careful how I said that on the special stage live stream. Looking forward to seeing how Tim Rogers goes when he gets back out in a car for a full championship, doing the Mini Rally Challenge Gravel Series with my son Mason co-driving this season. And there is the man returning to stage rallying after over 30 years out, David Gowing, with Emma Clark alongside, guiding him through his return to the sport. Out for fun and for getting some miles. They want to finish. That's their aim for today. But registered for BTRDA Championship points, Chris Gash there. Dylan Williams in the Class 2 Subaru, the CAG Housing and Developments car. Another new name, fighting for championship points in 2026. A very healthy looking season for the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. Delighted we'll have Ashley Morris back for a season here in the BTRDA as well, with Martin Haggett co-driving alongside in that trusty Fiesta R200 that we've seen Ashley in, but we haven't seen her out on the stages for a while now, so I'm hoping that's a full campaign. And we did have Sam Touzle registered for the BTRDA for this after a late entry earlier in the week, but it was an even later cancellation. So Touzle in the PB engineering car. I'm not sure what the story is there, actually. I've heard various. But Touzle, reigning Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally champion, now looking to conquer the gravel. Not competing here today, so if he's on your entry list, that's the update. Still some nice variety to go, including Richard and Julia Perry in their Vauxhall Nova. Looking forward to seeing them through. There's Paul Holmes, Elizabeth Beasley. Don't forget, we will be live again this afternoon at about 1:30. Phil Bramwell currently live with action from stage 3. He's had the minis through, he's had the main field through, starting to come through, sorry, through Divenant South. 4 live stages out of 6 on today's Rally North Wales here on special stage. What a way to kick off our Protyre BTRDA Rally Series and Welsh Rally Championship seasons. What a great little rally car that is. Became very good road rally cars, didn't they? Little 1400 Peugeot 106 XSIs. Joel Lewis, Jamie Mills alongside. The 1360cc engines in those were good for about 100 horsepower, I seem to remember. That's why they were so popular in road rallying particularly. You could get a really good result in a very standard road car, and as a result they all disappeared. They didn't really have much of a following to begin with, because obviously the Peugeot GTI, the 106 GTI and the Citroën Saxo VTR VTS stole the limelight, but they were very underrated, and a little bit like the Toyota Corolla AE86. Only when people actually took a closer look that they realized just how good it was as a base for a competition car. And just like the AE86, if you can find a 106 XSI now in good condition, you're laughing, but you're going to be spending a pretty sum. Ian Beveridge, David Fox told you about variety in that lovely TE27 Corolla. Talking of Corollas, the H2 registered car. I saw a post the other day, and you're never quite sure how these things go, but with MST now making Mark 1 and Mark 2 escorts, kind of, I want to believe this. I saw a post showing a factory full of, I think it was in China, actually, Corolla AE86 bodies and body panels. Now, if that's true, need to start building the 4 AGE engines again, and we're laughing. Put me down for one of those. Goodness me. I'd daily that. A Toyota Corolla AE86 with a few modern refinements as well. Yes, please. There is Ashley Morris, Martin Haggett alongside in the R200 Fiesta. No livery on the car for this opening round. I've been used to seeing it in its green, black and white livery in the last few outings, but plain white with sponsor graphics for this one, for Ashley. Still got those Peugeot 205 GTIs to go as well. Charles Armitage registered once again for points in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. The wind has died down a little, so I think it's probably a little bit more clement out there for the spectators braving the conditions here in North Wales. I bet half of them didn't think they'd be braving anything after the few weeks of lovely weather that we've had. But it feels like winter again, and the clocks are going forward tomorrow. I know it's very British, isn't it, talking about the weather and garlic mushrooms for tea, but you know what you're getting. We'll say that. Mike Cooper's watching in Valencia. Connor Neal's tuned in. Hello to you. Hello to Phil Woodcock. A.D. Jones watching from Newtown. Alan Marsh joining us. Hello to you. All of you who are getting involved on the live coverage, whether it's at specialstage.tv, on Facebook, on YouTube, you go into a draw to win a £15 voucher for Rallying is Life, where you can get more rally merchandise than you can shake a stick at. There's Jeremy Wells, Martin Saunders alongside. Needs to bring the Datsun back out, doesn't he? Peter Jones, Gareth Davies we were expecting through next, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately we look to have lost him. Mark Tugwell, Steve Pugh as well. Gutted for you guys. I know Steve was looking forward to this one. And there is the little Nova. Richard Perry, daughter Julia Perry alongside. Dad got Julia into rallying back in the day, so they're still out there enjoying themselves in Dad's Nova, which I know Julia loves. One of the hard-working organisers of the Mini Rally Challenge. She also works on the routes for, which is an event manager for Hero ERA, so travels the globe now, planning rallying and working in the sport. So nice to see Julia enjoying a dad and daughter day back in the trusty family Vauxhall Nova. Quite a few retirements through this first stage. There is Giles Armitage, but unfortunately for him and Josh Rhodes, maybe they thought they were doing a Targa and they thought they were having to do a stop astride on the boards there. I don't know what was going on there. Lost his place in the notes, I don't know. Car seems all right, though. They can't have thought that was the finish. No, I think they just thought they were doing a Targa. They just got confused, didn't they? Chris Gittins and Chris Arnott in the BMW Compact will be up next to this corner. And just looking at the tracker, I can see that we've still got Paul Clayton, Rebecca Lee in the Peugeot 205, And the retro racing rally car. Interestingly, using Fadima rally tyres. New name on the block for rallying. I used them on a Bowler Wildcat last year in the Northern Off-Road Championship in the Per Track car. And I think they're going to be a bit of an MRF in terms of bursting onto the scene, and suddenly people talking about them, and you'll see them appearing on cars, and it won't be long before they're sponsoring various things. There's Chris Gittings, as I mentioned, Chris Arnott as well in the 318 compact BMW. From here, the Welsh Championship go to the Severn Valley stages, the Plains Rally, the Nicky Grist, the Woodpecker, the Cambrian, and then they end their season on the Wydene Stages Rally, in case you were wondering. But on stages where, in the past, names like Ari Vatanen, Pentia Ricola, Jimmy, Alistair, Colin McRae appeared. At the moment, the name at the top is Myron Evans. He leads the way in the Castrol Yaris Rally 2 on the overall rally leaderboard. And it is a fourth McRae, who would quite dearly like to make it 4 McRaes on the winner's trophy here, wouldn't he? Max McRae is in second. But Elliot Payne leads our Protyre BTRDA Rally Series Championship cruise. Matt Hurst, after a, let's call it a moment, in the first stage of the day, second place, and behind him Alex Vassallo, then it's Daniel Sigurdsson, Liam Clark, your top 5 in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series overall leaderboard as things stand at the end of 3 stages. A short service, and then the cruise will be back out, and we'll be live with you in Aberhynant for 1:30 this afternoon for stage 4 of Rally North Wales. Phil Bramwell is live at the moment, and we'll be back live with you this afternoon for the final stage of the day as well. Brindley Thomas, Dylan Griffiths, a bit of home support for you on the live stream in the Peugeot 206. Lost out some time there to Mark Blunt and Blake Blunt in the Fiesta ST150. Quite fittingly, we started the coverage this morning with some classic minis. Historic minis, I should say, shouldn't I? And we're going to finish it with an historic mini as well. Richard Phillipson and Gemma Taylor in their British Leyland Mark III mini are going to close proceedings for stage 1, which is quite poetic, isn't it? But first, just as we get ready for the rebirth of the Peugeot 205 Challenge, Retro Race and Rally have brought that one out to tease us. Paul Clayton, who has had a rough time of things lately in his personal life, losing mum and then recently dad. He's coming back out, taking Spirit of the Rally for many of you. And yeah, fair play, Paul. Rebecca Lee alongside in that very nicely prepped Peugeot 205 GTI, one of the 1.9 engined cars. There'll be a class for both 1.6 and 1.9 in the new 205 Challenge. The question is, will it be as successful and as popular as the first time around, or indeed Pat Flynn's second variant when he brought the 205 Challenge back alongside the BMW Compact Challenge? The cars are more expensive, sure, but they're just as popular. And although we've only got 2 on the entry list today, you can go to a club rally anywhere in the UK and you're guaranteed a handful of Peugeot 205s. So best of luck to the guys running that championship. And I know Jamie McBain from Spark Developments also involved helping them promote it, and as a successful competitor in his own right with 205s and a wealth of knowledge on the subject to boot, he'll be a good person to contact if you do want more information, or you are looking at building a car, or you want to hire a car for the upcoming 205 challenge. Keep an eye on that. I can hear the whine of a straight cut mini gearbox. The bark of an RC40 exhaust. And there it is. Starting with minis, ending with minis. It's a mini adventure here on the opening stage of Rally North Wales, the opening round as well of the 2026 Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. Multiple former and youngest ever BTRDA Gold Star champion Elliot Payne leads the way then, and reigning champion Matthew Hurst hot on his heels. There'll be a battle going into the afternoon, that is for sure. Alex Vassallo not far behind, and Daniel Sigurðarson, the Icelandic driver as well, well in the mix. It's all to play for, and we will be back live with you at 1:30 for coverage of the whole entry once again here on Get Jerky Rally North Wales.